Hey everyone, Matt Neufeld here with Explosive Edge Athletics in Edina, Minnesota, bringing you our third video in our series all about plyometrics, where we're going to do some exercise demos for you, show you some introductory and kind of beginning level plyometric exercises that you can start to use in your workouts. If you missed the first and second videos, we talked about some of the science and background behind plyometrics, as well as some basic theories and ideas on how to incorporate plyos and levels of shock into your workouts. So if you saw them, great. If you didn't, check out the links to look at the first and second videos over here. Now today we're going to start demoing some exercises, getting down to the finer points of technique, and showing you some things that you can use in your workouts and getting real specific with stuff we want to focus on. And we'll look at beginning level exercises, single response exercises, nothing too reactive, where we're just going to be coaching our bodies how to deal with eccentric load and teaching your body how to deal with those increased amounts of shock.
This first exercise that we're going to be demoing is called a catch. Some people call it a drop catch, but what this is going to involve is dropping our center of gravity as quickly as possible and catching ourselves in a rebound ready position. Now when we talk about lowering our center of gravity quickly, the first motion that's going to initiate that is throwing the hips backward. After that, there is going to be a certain degree of hip flexion and bending at the knee, and also dorsiflexion, so we can go ahead and land right on the balls of our feet. Now the things we want to focus on when we're thinking about our rebound ready position are having the hips back and a big chest so we can feel that stretch in our glutes and hams, and also dorsiflexion is going to be one of the most important things in this exercise. We want to feel like we're directing force down into the ground straight through the laces of our shoes, with our knees right above our second toe, not too much pressure on the heels, but not too much on the toes either. The last thing we want to think about when doing this exercise is remaining stable all throughout. Walk away from this feeling like you've stuck the landing and can handle all of that eccentric load. One way to add some variability to this exercise, or to add some sport specificity for you, would be to maybe widen up your stance a little bit. If you are used to initiating motion from a little bit wider stance, or if you are preparing to move more laterally in your sport, then this might be a change that you can make. But aside from the fundamentals, feel free to switch this up to a way that's going to give you the most benefit for your specific goals. The second exercise we're going to focus on is a plyometric lunge, and how we're going to turn this lunge into a plyometric exercise is basically falling forward in a typical lunge motion, but instead of focusing on forward progress and the next consecutive step, we're going to focus on loading up that front leg with a bunch of eccentric force and shock and stabilizing unilaterally throughout the motion. Now the technique of the falling phase of the lunge is going to be similar to what we're looking for in the catch, in that we want to see a big chest, properly aligned core, and that hip starting to be back a little bit so we can prep those glutes and hamstrings for landing. Proper knee position and proper dorsiflexion of the foot is important too, because we want to be ready for that rebound ready position that we'll be catching all the eccentric force in. Now as you land, remember, dorsiflexion is important. Not too heavy on the heel, not too heavy on the toe. And also pay particular attention to your knees in this exercise. We want to keep that knee right above your second toe. This is a very easy exercise to have that knee track a little too far forward, which can lead to bad mechanics and even injury. Just like the catch, we want to focus on sticking the landing in this exercise, landing in that rebound ready position without too much cushioning motion and staying stable. These are all parts of teaching our body how to deal with these large levels of shock and eccentric load. One way to make the plyometric lunge a little bit more difficult is adding in a short plyo box. By having our landing phase end on a small box, we can change our knee angles and hip angles to mimic the early drive phase of a sprint a little bit more. Again, you want to make sure you're feeling that stretch in your glutes and hamstrings, and pay careful attention to your knee and foot placement. The next exercise we're going to cover is a countermovement jump. Now the countermovement jump is a great build-up to more advanced techniques like a depth jump, because it allows us to focus on our jump and landing mechanics before we introduce really high levels of shock and reactivity like a depth jump has. Now the idea of the countermovement is to lower your center of gravity rapidly without your feet leaving the ground, and then turning that eccentric motion into explosive concentric motion with a maximal effort jumping upwards and then landing again in a stable rebound-ready position. Hopefully these beginning exercises will start to give you an idea of how you might be able to integrate some plyometrics into your own workouts. We'll post another video showing some more advanced techniques that you can move on to after you've mastered these. Until then, this is Matt from Explosive Edge Athletics. Have a great workout.